Welcome back. Britain has done a better job than most countries when it comes to containing the coronavirus, but now Britain is coping with a rise in new COVID cases. The main cause appears to be the highly infectious virus variant known as Delta, which was first detected in India. So how long before it reaches our shores here in the U.S.? Here to talk about that and more is Dr. Jonathan Javitt. He is CEO and chairman of NRX Pharmaceuticals, also adjunct professor at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. Dr. Javitt, thanks so much for being with us. Lots to get to here, but I want to talk about these rising cases in Britain. Why do you think we're starting to see that, especially with that variant? And how concerned are you that we may wind up seeing that here in the U.S.?
Well, I think we should be very concerned. There's no question that we've had enormous success with the initial vaccines, but those vaccines target a narrow part of the COVID virus, the SARS-CoV-2 virus. And as these variants continue to evolve, the likelihood that some of them will bypass the vaccine and create another surge, another need for COVID therapeutics is high.
So should the U.S. start rethinking, or states start rethinking their reopening? Should, mask mandates be in place until more of our population is vaccinated?
Well, I think the most important thing is vigilance. Knowing where the variants are, knowing which populations are at risk. The decisions about where and how masks need to be worn are local public health decisions that have to be made based on the data that's available at that moment.
When you look at vaccination rates in this country, they lagged for a little while. Seems like things are picking up again. But one area where they're not really robust is that adolescent age group, ages 12 to 17, which were just recently okayed for receiving the Pfizer vaccine. How important is it that we get that population vaccinated? Because we know that it doesn't seem to be as serious when COVID affects younger age groups.
Adolescents most certainly are not at high risk of either getting COVID or going into the ICU because of COVID, but they're certainly capable of bringing that virus home to parents and grandparents who are at much higher risk.
So you're saying that they could be carriers, they could be asymptomatic carriers of the virus, doctor?
Absolutely true. And the reason this virus was able to spread across the globe the way it did is because of the asymptomatic carriers. If you think back to the original SARS and MERS epidemics, those viruses were so lethal that they didn't really spread outside of their original area.
Now, Dr. Fauci has said he is cautiously optimistic that kids under the age of 12 can be vaccinated by around Thanksgiving. That's going to be after the school year starts, and many school districts across our country are saying they're going to have in-person classes in the fall. I know the school district where I am is now debating whether or not kids should be wearing masks. What's your professional opinion on that? I mean, I understand we're waiting for CDC guidance, but if a child who's 9 or 10 is not vaccinated but going to school, should they wear a mask?
I'm a graduate of the Harvard School of Public Health. I'm on the faculty at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. The last thing I would do is pretend to have the data in front of me to make that kind of critical local healthcare decision. And I trust the people who have to make those decisions to use the best data they have.
Now, I want to step away from the virus for a minute and talk about your company in particular, a company that you co-founded, are CEO and chairman of now. NeuroRx merged with a SPAC last month, I think it was, and you guys went public. You're now traded on the NASDAQ under the symbol NRXP. Tell us why you decided to go public now and the money raised. What do you hope to do with that?
Well, we're at a point in our evolution where we're seeing positive data we've already seen positive data from our drug for suicidal depression. We're seeing positive data from Zysami, the drug that we've been working on for COVID respiratory failure. We're talking about an opportunity to develop a COVID vaccine. So this is really a point in time where we're going to need the support of the public in order to have the capital to do everything we want to do.
Wow, that was exciting news buried in there, Doctor. You're working on another COVID vaccine. Can you share any more information with us, share a timeline? Would it be something more for use in Europe? I know your company is based in Israel.
we hope to be sharing more data in the future. At this point, we've said to the street that we're really in the very exploratory phases of looking at that opportunity.
Now, one of your drugs, which you were just talking about, has been getting some good. I think you're in clinical trial 3, right? For the COVID-related drug that you have for people who are having respiratory issues regarding COVID. Have you seen that those kinds of cases or demand for that drug, frankly, has gone way down as vaccinations go up? And what's your hope for the drug when it finally does make market?
Well, as vaccinations go up, fewer people will be in the ICU with COVID-19, and we hope that that will be the case. But even in a strong situation for vaccinations, we know that people are going to need this drug. We also are highly optimistic that this drug is going to be needed for people who have acute respiratory distress from other reasons. In fact, the original work on this drug done by Professor Sami Saeed at Stony Brook University showed that it was very promising against people who die of respiratory distress from sepsis. And that's 250,000 Americans a year. So there's no question in our mind that a drug that can protect the lung from various attacks, be it COVID, be it acute respiratory distress, be it smoke inhalation, that's a drug that the world really needs.
Do you think it's a drug we might get by the end of this year, early next?
Well, we've asked the FDA for emergency use authorization of the drug based on the data from the first clinical trial. The NIH is in the process of conducting a global clinical trial that will compare this drug to remdesivir and also to placebo. The iSpy platform is comparing this drug against other drugs. So we do anticipate that by the end of the year, there will be a data package that hopefully will be highly supportive of drug approval.
All right, Dr. Jonathan Jarrett, thanks so much for being with us today. Appreciate your time.